Coming up on District Wire News, we're less than a year away from the 2012 presidential elections. Find out where the race stands for the Republican nomination and why Republicans don't seem to be getting behind frontrunner Mitt Romney.
And some student groups are fighting back against Facebook groups they say encourage violence against women. We have a full report. District Wire News starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Tiana Hakimzadeh.
And I'm Jade Ryan. Less than 1 year from today, President Obama will go up against the Republican nominee in the presidential election. In that time, we'll see caucuses and primaries, campaign ads, and plenty of baby kissing. Emily Roseman spoke with professors and students at American University to see how they're preparing for what's to come.
The 2012 presidential election is quickly looming upon us as candidates from both sides are preparing for a battle. What is shaping up to be a very competitive race, the presidential election is now 1 year out. With media pressure on the GOP candidates focusing on the upcoming primaries, students and faculty alike can sense what will potentially be a very close race to the finish. Professor Chris Simpson of the School of Communication finds that media plays a very vital role in any election process.
The campaign so far has been your basic horse race coverage, largely based on non-issues, frankly. Attempts to either scare or lure voters into one camp or another. I think even the GOP itself is disappointed with the poor quality of the candidates thus far.
But with recent campaign gaffes on the GOP side, some faculty members are looking towards specific candidates as key players in this year's election, like Professor Lucy Getman in the School of Public Affairs.
A lot could happen in the next year, but it will be a blockbuster year in that there are more women running for the U.S. Senate than ever before in history, and yet we don't have a very viable candidate for president.
As always, the youth vote comes down as a major player in elections. It was a crucial area for President Obama's campaign and perhaps could be a good source of votes for the GOP candidate. AU College Republican Amy Farina thinks so.
They've been doing a lot. They've been doing a lot of campaign trips. They went to Virginia this weekend. Yeah, I think they're going to be doing a lot to educate young conservatives and maybe people in the middle as well.
The race is surely heating up, and with 1 year out, it is anyone's game. Reporting from Washington, D.C., this is Emily Roseman for District Wire News.
A fourth woman accusing GOP candidate Herman Cain of sexual harassment is scheduled to break her silence today. She'll go public with celebrity lawyer Gloria Allred this afternoon. Cain has been accused of sexually harassing 4 women during his time at the National Restaurant Association. But Cain said he was no longer interested in speaking about the alleged harassment and said his campaign was getting back on message.
The Arab League is calling for an emergency meeting after Syrian officials opened fire on protesters yesterday. 22 people were killed in the incident. Clashes between protesters and the Syrian government have been going on for the last 8 months. In that time, about 4,000 people have died.
The UN's nuclear watchdog agency is due out with a new report on Iran this week, and sources say the country's nuclear program is ready to build weapons. U.S. intelligence agencies had said Iran had halted their nuclear program in 2003 in response to international pressure. The report also noted that foreign scientists from North Korea and Pakistan had helped Iran develop their program.
19-year-old Frostburg University student Courtney McCoy was stabbed and killed at an off-campus party at about 1:30 on Sunday morning. Another student, Shanae Liggins, is charged with first and second-degree murder and is now in police custody. Police say the girls were fighting earlier that night. Liggins denies the charges.
A new poll says there are more Americans that dislike the Occupy movement than those that like them. The study out of the University of Massachusetts found 40% of voters aren't sold on the movement, but it isn't because of their message. 74% of those polled say Americans without money don't have enough influence on the government. The study also says half the country dislikes the Tea Party.
Occupy DC has problems of their own. 3 people were hit by a car Friday night in what some say was an intentional crash. Protesters had shut down streets around DC's convention center where a conservative group was meeting. Protesters say the driver threw up his hands and accelerated into a crowd. DC police say the collision was unavoidable and the driver wasn't cited or arrested.
Online bullying is a big problem nationwide and can have serious consequences. Some states are even passing laws to try to stop it. But will the new restrictions help? Joining us with more is Faith Sagai. Faith?
Thanks, Tiana. A recent ruling in Michigan is causing huge debate after anti-bullying legislations for schools were created. Now D.C. is looking to its own laws to protect students against bullying. Here's more on the story. An anti-bullying legislation passed in Michigan is causing controversy after saying it would allow statements held in belief and moral conviction to be said in public schools. This means bullying could be allowed based on religious grounds. Lynn Berghoff, president and executive director of Citygate, says it's up to programs to teach students about bullying.
We think that if we can create an environment and a pattern of participation and communication that is constructive, and where if there are disagreements they are understood and dealt with in a positive way, that's the most direct contribution that we can make to that larger issue of bullying.
47 of the U.S. states have anti-bullying laws, but Michigan, Montana, and D.C. do not have anti-bullying legislation. At Woodrow Wilson High School, Dean Hernandez says the staff have created strong methods in cracking down against bullying.
Well, our first line of defense is our Dean of Students here. Then we have our security, and then we have a pilot program, which is based to help us with dealing with bullying and discipline in itself, and we have some other things put in place. But most of all, the Dean of Students handle bullying. As soon as we're aware of it, we pull the students and just talk to them and see what they think about it, because some people consider bullying certain things, but it may just be misconstrued. But for the most part, we take every case serious when dealing with bullying.
Students say while staff are stepping up and administration are recognizing bullying more, it has become increasingly hard for schools to regulate cyberbullying. Now, the D.C. Council is seeking to ban intimidation from public places, but the Coalition Against Censorship says it currently restricts against free speech. Tiana?
Thanks, Faith.
Starting yesterday, Facebook is shutting down certain groups that some find offensive. The crackdown comes in response to a petition saying the groups promote violence against women. Rachel Demita spoke to a member of Women's Initiative to find out more.
Facebook is an outlet that people around the world use to express themselves through photos, posts, social groups, and pages. But now many users think that some pages are taking their speech too far. Change.org started a petition to Facebook's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, to take down the offensive pages that seem to promote violence towards women. Pages with titles like, "You know she is playing hard to get when you're chasing her down an alleyway."
Facebook and Twitter and other social media can be good things, but they can also, send out messages that are really bad and really hurtful for some people to see.
The movement quickly moved to a Twitter campaign, #NotFunnyFacebook. Change.org gathered 186,000 signatures to get pro-rape and pro-violence pages removed from Facebook. After 2 months of petitioning, ZDNet.com is reporting today that these pages will be removed. American University supports free speech, but hate speech is not tolerated. Student organizations on campus, like the Women's Initiative, have a strong stance on women's rights. They use social networking as a tool to empower women.
But I feel like the more positive lights and positive instances that we have to see women and, ending sexual abuse, then I feel like the faster this process will take effect. So I feel like, posting positive websites and links and pictures is definitely a good way to go.
From Washington, I'm Rachel Demita for District Wire News.
Coming up after the break, a string of thefts in Anderson Hall. We'll hear from a resident assistant who was on the scene the night of the crimes. A live report straight ahead.
And a new study says college students are using bad sources like Wikipedia for their research. But professors at AU disagree about what that means for students.
It's just past 7:30 in McPherson Square, and about 100 members of the Occupy DC movement are slowly creeping out of sleeping bags or getting breakfast at the camp's kitchen.
Right now, he just woke up. He's just getting started.
My name's Carl.
You missed the egg breakfast, Carl.
I know, right?
John Z works 2 jobs and has an apartment in downtown DC, but he spends the night here with people of all walks of life.
We have professionals, we have business owners.
Just 3 weeks ago, the crowd here was a lot smaller. 10 or 12 people carried signs and shouted slogans.
Numbers are down because, contrary to what some people believe, most of us have full-time jobs. So it's hard to get people out early on a Monday morning when a lot of us are headed to work with everyone else.
That day, the protesters marched on Bank of America and were excited with their small success.
Since then, the movement has built up an infrastructure. They have a library, a kitchen, and even a comfort station with blankets and sweaters to keep out the cold.
Our movement has grown almost exponentially. We started out with about 12 sleeping bags in one tent. Every week we have almost grown by 10.
Even with the added people, John said work still keeps some away from the square.
We stand for many people who cannot be here, many people who work, many people who just, it's not convenient for them to come down here and stay with us. We are standing for them.
Street medic Nicholas Allen said everyone pitches in to keep things running smoothly.
During the day, when we don't have as much medical traffic that we need to do, I will help with construction of the medical campus. I also part-time work sanitation, and then, just try to pitch in as best we can. Again, do odds and end jobs like everybody else. Tries to support this in some way.
But not all the jobs are so simple. At night, more people gather in the square, sometimes leading to fights. Ryan Lash was assigned to security detail Monday night.
Making sure, people passing through, weren't causing any rough housing or anything like that. It seems to happen a bit around here with just general passersby.
But despite some conflicts, the movement is largely nonviolent.
Dr. King, nonviolent. Gandhi, all nonviolent. And we're motivated by those types of people who succeeded in the past.
Though no one could offer a time frame of when the Occupy movement might end or what would allow them to go home, many seemed ready to stay in the square, at least for another night. For District Wire News, I'm Sarah Parnas. Kickball can be a tough sport. It takes hardcore athletes who can throw, kick, run, and catch. Today at one college, students are getting the chance to relive their gym class dreams for a good cause.
Kickball for Kidneys is our fall philanthropy event for Phi Sigma Sigma, the Beta Upsilon chapter at American University. It benefits our sorority philanthropy. It's called National Kidney Foundation. And the National Kidney Foundation helps out people with kidney disease, that type of thing.
This is the first year Novell organized the event. She says the hardest part of planning was getting food for the players, but Novell pulled through in the end.
We got a lot of food donations from different restaurants around the area, as well as different bakery places. Frosting, Red Velvet helps out a lot.
Thomas Bixler is on the field today to help out Phi Sigma Sigma, but he's gotten a little more than he bargained for.
So, stupid.
The kickball players, largely coming from AU's Greek life, raised $750 for the National Kidney Foundation this year. That's $25 more than last year. But some of the brothers aren't really here to raise money.
There was a sign-up sheet passed around chapter, and Phi Sig's all right, and I like kickball. I'm really good.
Max seems more interested in his team's performance than the charity work. Despite his bravado, his team hasn't won every game.
There was lackluster effort out there. People weren't prepared for the game, but I set a high precedent, so they have to meet that. We lost the first one, but won the second one. On a road to the championship, hopefully.
From AU's Tenley campus, I'm Sarah Parnas.
Registration for classes at American University began on Friday. Students are organizing their classes to try and make the perfect schedule, but some night owls might have trouble with AU's 7:30 a.m. classes. Sarah Parnas has more on the story. Sarah?
Thanks, Zach. Picking out classes is hard enough as it is, but with these earlier options, it seems to me like students are going to have to be choosing between the classes they really want and that extra hour of sleep. But, you know, there are some plus sides to getting some earlier classes, and I spoke with some people who will tell us what those are.
Registration for spring classes at American University started at midnight, and some students are finding they'll have to get up very early for classes next semester. This is the second semester AU has offered classes as early as 7:30 in the morning. Janelle Clothier at AU Central says this is about giving students more options.
I think one of the reasons was to find more classroom space that was available. So opening up that extra block gave another opportunity for additional courses to be offered. The other thing is we have a number of students that are graduate students or students that are doing internships, and the appeal of being able to come to campus earlier gave students more opportunities.
But for professors, keeping students engaged in the morning can be tough.
They have a tendency to not want to talk right away in the morning. Students will cope by bringing in coffee mugs in the morning. I will sometimes bring in a little breakfast, some fresh fruit, something to get them going.
Nadia Batson has her own routine before those early morning classes.
I have 2-3 cups of coffee in the morning at home, and then when I get to school, probably every break that I have, I go downstairs and get a cup of coffee.
But even Nadia said she would prefer a class in the morning to one in the evening.
Well, it kind of sucks because we have to wake up really early to come in time and to get here, but it really helps people to organize their day and to get more things done.
Right now, the only classes being offered at 7:30 are yoga and a theater class, but there could be more to come. And, you know, as Professor Mickey Fish later pointed out, that could be a good thing for seniors like me who are going to have to get up pretty early to go to work in the real world soon. Back to you guys. The Brookings Institute released a study at the beginning of the month that says more than a quarter of people aged 16 to 24 living in D.C. are out of school and making less than $22,000 a year. The study says D.C. should try to equip 90% of its youth with a college degree and a full-time job by 2022. One program is already working to achieve that goal. The branch of AmeriCorps called City Year Washington, D.C. brings young people from the district and across the country into D.C. public schools to help keep kids in school and prepare them for life after graduation.
As a product of DCPS, I definitely understood and related to the students of the public school system, and grew up knowing that it wasn't right, that there were issues that weren't being addressed. I definitely wish that I had City Year growing up.
Executive Director Jeff Franco has worked in D.C. for 16 years.
Part of the reason that there's such an issue, there's a myriad of reasons for it, but many of them don't have those mentors, tutors, and role models in their lives. And we work with so many different kids that are either way behind reading level or dropping out of school. And our mission really is to try to keep kids in school and on track and address the dropout crisis. And so if we can really work in that direction, I think we'll start seeing a shift in what we're seeing in terms of unemployment with young people in the district.
City Year volunteers are training all day on AU's campus today. Around the corner at Woodrow Wilson High School, one student has an idea of what he'll do to avoid unemployment after he graduates.
Well, first things first is go to college.
This is Sarah Parnas in Northwest Washington for District Wire News.